Hi guys, we're here to install the Soft Start RV by, I think it's Network RV. So I'm excited to be able to finally install this. I've been waiting to finally install this. So we're going to video it and show you how it goes. I think the key whenever it comes to installing anything is always be prepared, especially when it comes to being on the roof of the RV, because last thing you want to do is having to go back and forth. So first things first, we're going to go downstairs, we're going to cut off the main power. Go ahead and unscrew 4 screws on the very top of it. So we're going to do that now. Once those screws are off, you just want to slowly but surely raise it up from both sides. You can unclamp it as far as here, depending on how stuck it is. You can separate it kind of like a clamshell. All right. So I do have my instructions. Luckily, it's I just put it on my tablet. It's a lot easier than a piece of paper. Full timing, I would have to print out the piece of paper, so it's just another thing for me to get out the printer and print it out. So put it on my tablet. Yes, I did have to carry it all the way up for me to be able to put it on, but that's just how it goes. Now there are 3 screws that you're going to have to remove. And then pull off your panel. So this will expose it to your 2 capacitors. There's a starting capacitor and then your regular capacitor. That's where you're going to be mainly going through as far as here. And then also you're going to be kind of going through this little plug right here to your compressor as well too, so that you can be able to have access. On your panel, if you flip over your panel, you'll see they actually give you a diagram for it. Every single air conditioner is a little bit different, so I recommend to go ahead and get to the bottom left corner. Mine says 1976-760, and so that's going to be able to be the specific number for mine. You can go on Soft Start RV and be able to look that up. There's a lot of YouTube videos depending on the manufacturer. Of mine's a Coleman-Mach. So each manufacturer is going to be a little bit different to be able to do. Now for the Soft Start, this is the smaller one. They actually make it a little more compact. It's a newer version for it. It has 5 different wires coming out. Basic setup, especially if you have my exact one, is going to be pretty simplistic, and we should get this installed pretty quickly. All right, when you're going to be installing it, you want to start off with, again, kind of depending on how things are going to be set up. Typically, it's going to always be the yellow, black, and blue wires that you're going to be sending through. And so that's where it's going to be coming in through this spot, coming down in through here to be able to connect in here. The Soft Start itself is going to be basically mounted back behind here. And so 3 wires are going to go in, and then 2 wires are going to be connecting your compressor. So I'm going to have to remove some of this stickiness that's here. You can kind of see all the stickiness that's around it. I'm going to remove that for now, but I'm going to save that because I can go ahead and reapply that and kind of keep this area as waterproof as much as possible. All right, so we're going to go ahead and stick our 3 wires through, sticking them through one by one. So now you have your 3 wires, your blue, your black, and your yellow wires to be able to go ahead and install things. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First things first is going to be following the white wire to the compressor. So you can see this white wire going through here. You're going to follow it in and see where it connects in. And so you can kind of see on the capacitor, there's 2 different spots here. Be aware that if you do accidentally touch both of these 2 together, there's still a chance that it may have a little charge on there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the white wire. There we go. All right, now you're going to take the blue wire and you're going to connect it with the white wire. And so to do so, I'm going to need a male connector that's supplied with the kit. Luckily, they do go ahead and supply a nice little bag that has everything with it. So you can easily be able to find a male connector, connect that, and you're going to connect the white and the blue wires together. Now you can see the crimper is on there, so I'm going to go ahead and connect the two, and then I'm going to wrap them with black electrical tape. All right, now that connection is nice and secure, they're connected together and with the black electrical tape. And there's always a chance if you want to go ahead and remove your soft start and be able to connect it to a different rig, you should easily be able to just go back in your backward steps, undo this, go ahead and plug it back in, and you should be good to go. All right, now we're going to go ahead and take the black wire. We're going to put it right back where that white wire was. So back over here. So exactly where that other spot was. So I'm going to go ahead and crimp that one and put it in the same spot. All right, we got the black wire. Go ahead and crimped. And it's going to go right back in where the white spot was. Connect in. That's where we're going to go ahead and connect the yellow wire. So I'm going to go ahead and crimp the yellow wire with a female connector, so it's going to be connected on. All right, now that we have the yellow wire crimped, just to be on the safe side, I went ahead and just attached a little bit of electrical tape on there just to make sure it's nice and secure, which the crimping was. So now we're all set in there. You can see that it's in the same areas where the red one is. Now it does say that if there is a second red wire connected in through here, you do want to go ahead and remove it, tape it off, but you don't want it connected on there. Should only be one red wire connected on that spot. All right, and just like that, we're down to two wires, the red and the brown. So this is where we're going to be going over to the compressor cap. We're going to be removing this little nut here and go ahead and getting this off. And then go ahead and sliding off the cap. All right, so removing the black wire throughout here. So that's gonna be right here. Just gonna pull it right off. And so it's now disconnected. Now we're gonna connect the red wire of the soft start to this and be good to go. All right, now that we have the red wire of the soft start to the black wire where the compressor is, I'm gonna go ahead and place some electrical tape and seal this up. All right, we got the black and the red wire. Again, the red wire from the soft start to the black wire of the compressor. So now we're going to take the brown wire and we're going to connect it into that same spot of where the black wire was. They do have a connector that is kind of in almost a 90 degree angle that you can be able to use. So now I'm going to use that one, and as you can see, it'll be able to fit on there and won't have a problem. All right, now that brown wire is nice and flat on there, it won't be a problem being able to go ahead and apply this back in there, kind of allowing it to go in the same direction of all the rest of the wires as well too. So you can see now the brown wire comes out in the correct area. So we should be all set. I'm going to screw this cap back on. All right, now that we have everything all connected and hooked up, now we want to test it before you go ahead and put it. They have a double-sided tape on here. Before you go ahead and connect everything, go ahead and test it out. And on the bottom, there's a green and then two red lights as well too. So the green should light up to tell you that it is on and working correctly. So now this is where you're gonna need someone to help you out. All right, as you can see, everything's running accordingly and our green light is on. So we installed it correctly. It's always the key whenever you get to doing anything. You hope for the best, but you pray for that nothing else happens. So we're gonna turn the power back off. All right, now that the AC is off, I'm gonna go ahead and use some rubbing alcohol to be able to clean off the side. So you will see that on the side here, this seems to be the best place to be able to put it over here, kind of out of the way, so I don't have to worry about it any. I'm just gonna take a little bit of rubbing alcohol, clean up the spot. All right, we're gonna let that dry, and then they went ahead and put some double-sided tape, as you can see on the back side of it, and then they do give you some screws if you want to screw it on. Just because of all the bouncing, I'm gonna go ahead and screw it, at least put 2 screws in there just to make sure that we're not gonna have any issue for it. All right, everything's nice and dry. Now I'm gonna go ahead and stick exactly where I want it. The only issue will be is that I wanna make sure that this plug is on the opposite. So I'm gonna turn this around and make sure that it is downward facing, because we do not want any water potentially get in there. Not that it would, but there's always a chance for that to happen. So go ahead and stick that on. Just like with any double side tape, it'll take a little bit. So I probably wouldn't recommend any traveling just on the day of. Maybe, you know, if you're going to install it, do it a day or two before you travel, just to make sure that this doesn't get jostled around and then end up down here or end up where the fan is. And so now that that's secure, I'm going to go ahead and get all the wiring, and then we're going to look at tapping 2 screws in here just to make sure we're good to go. All right, I went ahead and cleaned up everything. We have this all zip tied. They do give you, I think, about 3 or 4 zip ties. So that's all zip tied in there. So that's nice and tight. We can put the panel back on. And then over here, I went ahead, you can kind of see that they zip tied up here. So I went ahead and zip tied it down here. So that way all the wiring is kept neat. We don't have to worry about any of the wires getting over and hitting the fan, because that can cause big problems obviously there. The last thing I'm going to do too is, you remember that putty that was already there. So I'm going to go ahead and reapply that putty around here. It should still be somewhat usable on here. It's not perfect, but it will work for you what you need it to do. Let me go ahead and get the drill, and I'm going to drill 2 holes in there. They do give you 4 self-tapping screws, so I'm going to go ahead and place those now in here, and we should be all set. So nice clean setup. I do like the smaller edition. Doesn't matter where you have to have the smaller one versus the one that's maybe an inch or 2 bigger. I don't think so. I think you'd be fine without it. All right, so I got the screws in. I did one on top and on bottom. I didn't want to do the ones over here because I was worried it was going to start to get in where the other coils are. I didn't want to accidentally puncture those. So these 2, this is not going anywhere. It's nice and solid between the double-sided tape and this. Just gives a little bit of extra security. So now that I'm all set, should be good to go. And make sure when you're screwing these in to pull the wires away from it, so you don't accidentally hit the wires. But now you're all set. I'm going to blow out as much as possible. Keep everything nice and clean so the AC is running perfectly, but everything's good to go. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. I'm glad. I appreciate Soft Start making it nice and easy for anyone to be able to install it. You don't really have to cut any wires or anything like that. That's the setup that I wanted. It's a lot easier to be able to do doing that setup too. So that way, if I want to go ahead and remove this, I can do so as well too, and put in another rig and then put everything back to OEM stock for me, so that I don't have to worry about, oh, well, you know, I got to leave it in there. So I can easily take it with me next rig. Don't be like me and almost forget to put the panel back on. As I was closing things up, I literally almost forgot to put the panel back on. So go ahead and screw that panel. That protects everything with the capacitors that are in there. And then put your top back on, turn on the power, and be good to go.